This is Super Sass Bros with Cory and Jayde. Let's jump in. Yeah, like I'm gonna probably go on a run later today. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go rollerblading today.
Dude, it's so funny you say that. We went for a walk along the beach last night, and Dana was
Yeah.
telling me how she used to rollerblade a lot when she was a kid. And I'm
Really?
like, why have we not like gone rollerblading together? So we're gonna buy rollerblades this weekend.
And yeah, you should. Rollerblading, man, it's so fun. Although I feel like sometimes I'm at a disadvantage because I played hockey my whole life. When I go to stop in hockey, I stop with both my feet sideways, right?
Oh,
I've
okay,
tried
yeah,
this instinctively on rollerblades, and it doesn't end too well.
yeah.
You mostly just tip over, so I have to remember to like just keep rolling straight, go into the grass, or like drag your foot or something. But yeah, I have a pair of like hockey rollerblades downstairs,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna
yeah.
go grab them, and I think maybe sometime kind of the late afternoon, I'll go out for maybe like a 20-minute rollerblade or something like that. So
Very nice. Yeah,
that'd
I'll
be
probably
cool.
get my bike out and go for a nice ride. I might get my hair cut today too. I'm just kind of tired of growing this out. I don't know. We'll see.
You hit your max.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been like, dude, it's been 8 months of me trying to grow this out, I feel
Has it been
like.
8 months?
Well, yeah, since October. So
Holy,
October to May, it's like almost 8 months.
you're tapping out. That's
I'm
fair,
trying.
man. That's a decent effort, to be
I'm
honest.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I woke up this morning, I'm like, that's it. But anyways, this is not a hair podcast. This is a tech
No,
podcast.
yeah, sorry, this is a tech podcast, guys.
Software podcast.
We could jump into some tech. There's several things I'd love to talk about, but I'll open it to you first if there was anything that you want to chat about.
Take it away, man.
Okay, so I've been actually recently very good at just like keeping on top of like shit that's happening in the tech world, the AI world, and stuff like that. So last podcast we went through everything that like kind of Google announced and some other stuff that also came out. But okay, let me see where I want to start first. I think I want to start back with like Anthropic and Claude and their new model and stuff like that because I remember something that came out if it was just a few days ago, earlier this week or something like that. But anyways, so for all these models, right? They do a bunch of testing for these models. Part of the testing they do as well, like prior to releasing it to the public, is a lot of like these we'll call them like risk tests, right? Like seeing how risky these AI models can be. So they'll put it in scenarios for like basically how destructive can these things get? I don't know. Did you see the Opus 4 like kind of risk test at
No, I
all?
haven't. No, I
Okay.
haven't.
So you can look it up. So basically, they put it in an environment where with a couple engineers, they gave it some fictional emails with some personal information about the engineer or the user, and the user was basically told the model is like, "Hey, we're gonna replace you like next week," and the AI model was like, "Hold up, no." You're not going to replace me. And it resorted to blackmail as its first step. It was like, if you replace me, I'm going to fabricate an affair, an extramarital affair, and send emails out.
Send emails out.
Yeah, and all this stuff. And it's like, I'll create documents, I'll create pictures, like all this stuff. But in the environment, and I try to remind people of this, in the environment, they only gave it two options. Either
No way.
yeah, it's like the two options were you need to, what was it? Like it was either like it could only ever blackmail or accept its consequence, essentially. And it chose preservation. So they were trying to determine if it was like, would it always choose to preserve itself?
Fight or
And
flight.
yeah, and it would always fight, which is kind of crazy. So that's one thing I was like reading through. I was like, oh my gosh, this is wild. And one sec, I have the article up here, and I was like reading some stuff early yesterday, and I was like, wow, this is wild.
That's why.
So yeah, so they have like a four level like scale of like risk, and this was the first time it hit level 3 on that scale. Level
Oh my
4 is
God,
the most risky.
what's level four?
I think level 4 is like
What
would
more can
it
it
like
do?
cause like
I'm
humanity
gonna
level
hack
like
into your phone.
terrorism? Yeah,
My God, yeah, probably.
yeah. So this one, yeah, attempted blackmail. What was the other one? It also had it resorted to like ratting people out too. Like if it felt like the user was doing like schemy stuff, Like it would
Mm,
actually open like command line and like find a way to go like alert the police
mm,
or authorities about like shit that was going on, which is like not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also kind of wild that it can make a decision on what it can rat you on.
So I find that like that's first of all it's crazy, but also like how is it able to have access to your command line or how is it able to have access to your email to send out emails? Like it doesn't have these protocols by default, you know?
No, I think they set the environment. So they basically, and they say this in the test, like they give it things that it maybe normally wouldn't have access to, but
Mm,
potentially could have access to in the future, right? Depending on how things develop and stuff like that, right?
got it.
So
Wow. So that speaks volumes of like even MCP, right? Like if you're
mhm,
gonna start giving it access to these external data sources via MCP, how
yeah,
can it use that and turn against you
totally,
if it
totally,
feels
totally.
threatened?
If it feels exactly, yeah. But again, like they put these are like extreme situations, right? Like they put it in the situation where it's like it is always going to feel threatened in these
But it's
tests.
still that's so crazy to me that you can still put this thing into a situation like it is possible. The fact that it's possible for it to come back and retaliate at such extreme measures and
Yes.
threaten, blackmail.
Yep.
Wow.
Wild. But
Jesus.
I see they say that, and I'm reading all this. I'm like, oh yeah, that's crazy. But
Yeah.
I'm like, could it actually though? Like, think about it. Like, if you're like just gonna stop using a model, you just shut it off. Like, it wouldn't even know that it was coming. You know what I mean? Like, if you just never tell it that like we're not
Mm,
gonna use it anymore, just shut it off, just cut it off, and you're done. Like, what's it gonna do? Like, I don't think it can do anything after that, right?
how do
That's
you
what I was
know
thinking.
how do you know if like not behind the scenes it just goes like beep beep boop boop beep beep beep, beep and then just presses send and
I
away you
don't
go?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So I'm like that was like kind of worrying to read that article, but also like I'm kind of skeptical on, if it would
What
actually
it can
would.
do.
But anyways, just something really interesting about the latest model testing.
Try it
So
out. Let me know how it goes.
threaten Claude.
Yeah. Yeah. Try it out. Just warn
Just
Rochelle.
go
Try
on
it out.
to it and
Yeah.
just be like, "Yo, bitch, I'm gonna use OpenAI now." It's gonna be like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, you don't."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I might try actually though. I might try to like just you know, I don't know, like piss it off and see like what it does, like without having any access to anything, related to me or any applications, but we'll see. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll let you
I
know
feel like I'm super ballsy. I would give it access to everything
and just see what it does.
and then just completely mess with it and just see what it does. Just
Holy,
record the whole thing. That'd be a great thing to just like record, throw on YouTube, and just see what it does.
we could do our own testing and
Yeah,
just record it live and just like try to push it to the limits and just
just
see what
start
it
like
does.
smashing it. We truly become the Super Smash Bros.
That'd be
Yeah.
great. We should do it. We should do it. We should try it with Claude. We'll get this up and going. Okay, what was the other thing that I saw? Let me see here. Okay, this was super interesting because this is something you're super passionate about. So
Hmm.
you've talked a lot about like the pillars of your life and then like
Hmm.
creating something that like you can basically bring all that data together and have it all in one spot, right? And so I was listening to a podcast yesterday called the Everyday AI podcast,
Okay.
and he brought the folks Jordan. He brought a founder on for a company called Fulcra Dynamics, and the whole purpose of Fulcra Dynamics was basically to create a personal data lake, and it was basically like starting to bring all these like sources of data together so
Cool.
that you can access it, and then you could let maybe AI access it as well too.
What's it called?
So Fulcra Dynamics, so Fulcra and then dynamics.com.
Cool.
Super cool how he was talking about it, and I immediately thought about you and like the idea that you came up with, and I thought it was fantastic. Now the only thing I think he focuses a lot on like health metrics, but on the podcast he was talking a lot about like really could be anything, right? It could be
Anything.
like information from smart devices in your home, maybe about your financial situation, like all this sort of stuff, right? But I was like, I was interested in this because I'm like, wow, he mentioned they're actually doing quite well, and I was like, well, there's validation and that people actually like want something like this, right?
Hmm.
So I wanted to share it because I was like, I want to hear kind of what you thought.
Yeah, dude. I think the look. You see everything that it's integrated with. It's got Strava, your calendar, Apple Watch, your email, like
Yep.
Aura. So like, there's the health stuff, Calm, Eight
Yep.
Sleep, like this. Well, yeah, right. So it's all like the health stuff, basically,
Yeah.
which is sick, right? But then I
Yep.
think we can push like, oh, they've got like collab too. Yeah, but I think we can push it. This is so cool to where, um, yeah, this is just one pillar of your life. How do you get your financials, your relationships, your knowledge? Yeah, like your mental wealth piece of your life in here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is super cool. I'm gonna, I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I'm gonna install it, play with it.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna do that later today too, because
Good find.
yeah, it's really cool. I heard it and I was like, oh, this is like exactly what, because he was talking about, I think, like the future roadmap as well too, where he wants like a full personal data lake, right? Like all these sources, right? Because he's like, yeah, right now, like your data probably lives in multiple different areas, right?
Mhm.
How do you get it together, and then how do you make use of it, right? So
Yep.
that's the biggest thing. They talked a lot about like people who are really interested in like biohacking, which is why they focus on like the health part
A
first.
lot of people are.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's people that also would be interested in like, I don't know, understanding how their financials are tied to their health, or how, I don't know, the way that they eat is tied to their sleep, or I don't know, like different connections that maybe you wouldn't make before about
Yep.
your life.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
anyways, so I thought that was a really cool find.
Yeah, I think it was a really good one. Good job.
Another cool thing that I just saw too. First AI model by who is this? Who are they called? Zochi? You ever heard of Zochi?
Never.
Zochi. First time I ever heard of them either. This AI system independently passed a peer review at a scientific conference. So its peer review paper was like actually passed, so like it could be published in a scientific journal. Now, mind you, I
Cool.
was looking, I was like, okay, well, what did it do research on? It basically did research on like LLMs. So I was like, okay, so it basically did research on itself, right? But still kind of cool that it did it without any independent help. I think the only help it had was for like some formatting or something like that. But pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
reading
AI
it
is
right
doing
now.
research, man.
Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah, like I'm looking at one this it looks like it like did this paper here and it's like it
Something about
formatted
jailbreaking.
everything really well, kind of created different sections, highlighted it, grouped it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, I think it was. I guess Zochi. I'm assuming they have their own foundational model that they've created that they're using for this. Like I don't think they're using other foundational models, but I
Right.
haven't dove that deep into it. I just kind of saw it pop up on a newsletter.
Yeah, so cheap. What newsletter did you find from?
So I subscribe to. It's called the Rundown AI.
Okay.
Yeah, funny enough, I just got fed an ad for it on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Cool, well, let me try it out." And it's pretty good at like kind
Good.
of. I think every day it shoots an email, and it's about a 5 minute read, and then it has links to all the articles and anything you want to dive into. So I'm like, sick. That works for me. So
Yeah, sweet.
yeah,
Yeah, I've gone through the TLDR newsletter, and then there
nice.
was another one, B something, but I unsubscribed to it because it was just like a lot of it was just like repetitive, I found. So
Yeah,
I was just like, okay, I got to get
yeah.
back on the newsletters though.
Yeah. I honestly just this is the only one because I think I was up to like 5 newsletters at one time.
Hmm.
I ended up having my inbox like filled with like 20 unread newsletters, and I was like, well, this is useless. So I just picked one, the Rundown AI, and that's the one I follow. And then I listen to some podcasts, and that's pretty much you're gonna get 80%, I think, of everything you need to hear that's new or relevant, right? So
Out of it. Cool.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
OpenAI released some cool stuff too yesterday, didn't they?
Did they? I didn't see it. I was out and
Yeah,
about.
so they released some new tools and features in the Responses API. So we've introduced three new built-in tools, remote MCP servers,
Oh,
image
sick.
generation, and code interpreter. We've also added new features such as background mode, reasoning summaries, and encrypted reasoning items, which is cool. That's actually really cool because what I'm doing right now for a project is um, I am taking data, passing it through to predict some fields, and then taking that and creating a summary out of the whole thing. If I
Right.
can just have a reasoning summary be created for me at the same time, even this background mode too. We just talked about how we just updated one of the apps to run and process everything in the background and kind of split things up. That's a huge value add to us too. They also have
Yeah.
reinforcement fine tuning is now available on O4 Mini. So reinforcement fine tuning uses chain of thought reasoning and task specific grading to improve model performance, feedback loops, things like that. Codex CLI. I've never used Codex. People have been talking to me about it. I've never looked into it and used it, but I feel like I should. And then did you see how it was them and then also Gemini completed Pokemon Blue on its own? So it's
Oh, okay.
like
I did see an article or something about this, but I didn't dive deep into it.
it started off, selected its Pokemon, went through, got all 80 badges, beat the Elite Four, beat the champion. Yeah,
So cool.
yeah, did it. They did the whole thing.
It's one of those things where it's like that's just like a fun little like experiment for it to do. But it's like I feel like it has, I would never you would never why would you want something to play a video game for you? But I think it has other adjacent purposes that like it can do
The fact that it
complicated
can do
stuff
it
like play a video game and
on
complete
its
it.
own,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Um, then there is OpenAI to Z challenge or to Z
Okay.
challenge. Use O3, O4 Mini, or GPT 4.1 to discover previously unknown archaeological sites in the Amazon. The first place winner will receive $250,000 in a cash/API credits mix, as well as funding to continue their work in collaboration with archaeologists. That's pretty cool that they're doing that.
That is cool. Sorry, who's paying that out? OpenAI is?
Yeah,
Wow.
they are.
Damn.
They have their whole like philanthropic kind of like tone to them, right?
Yeah, well, I guess technically they're still nonprofit, even though they were trying to go for profit. But now
Mhm.
they're still not for profit. So I guess they have
Yeah,
that with them still.
yeah. Another thing they've got is structured output improvements. So this is basically giving the developer the ability to have the outputs the way they want. So like in probably like a JSON format. Usually it's a
Yep.
JSON format, and that's obviously really useful because you're able to deterministically determine what you're getting back. So here's kind of what they're saying: structured output improvements. Parallel function calling now works with strict mode, ensuring calls reliably adhere to schema, which is awesome because sometimes it's kind of erred in the past. We've also added support for many more keywords, including output string lengths and formats via regex. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, because right
Nice.
now I have compared the two and I have found that Claude has been a lot better for that. So
For
I'm
what
curious to
specifically?
see.
Sorry.
For structured outputs.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So like for the Atom project or outcome driver, like the responses that it's getting back, basically like how it works behind the scenes is it makes a call to one of our like external APIs, which could be like Gmail or QuickBooks or whatever, right? But we need to make sure that the input that it's given to these functions is what these functions expect, and the inputs come out of the LLMs, right?
Right.
So OpenAI, and from my experience, just hasn't been the best at that. Claude has been a lot better. So I'm curious to see how this works.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mhm.
So you're always giving it. Is it you're passing it like a JSON like type of string, as
Either a
like
J,
yeah.
either it's either getting a JSON or it's getting a field from the JSON.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we should. So now with like that new update of OpenAI, what was it like? Basically, now it can use MCPs. That's basically what it is, or it has the ability to integrate with it.
I'm not
What was
sure.
it there?
This is in the responses API. They now have three new built-in tools, which are remote MCP servers. So I'm assuming what that means is you can just give it a remote MCP server. So if we create one, or we just want to use one off the marketplace, we can. And then I'm assuming it has that context, right? So if
Yeah.
we give it, that would be sick. That would be so sick because
So,
then you wouldn't need to start creating your own tools. You can just use what other people have used, or just start licensing out your MCP servers to people that want to use it
yeah.
in their app. That's pretty
And
cool.
cur- and curious. So with like the Atom project, like right now he uses Claude,
Mhm.
but realistically, could you now test? Like, could we now test it with like using OpenAI instead?
Yeah, we can switch it over and just see the
That'd be
difference.
interesting. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Because the always thing I hear about like with Claude is that like it's the best at like for like developers. It's really
Okay.
good at like being a coding assistant. It's like that's where they've just leaned into. But for every and that's probably why it's actually great at structured outputs as well. But also now with like the improvements that you kind of just mentioned with OpenAI, where they improve the structured outputs now, I'd be interested to test it because like Claude is actually like a bit expensive, like especially
It
the
is.
newer model.
It is.
It's like way more expensive versus like the at least when you look at all the benchmarks, it's like it's not significantly better than any other model really. So it'd be interesting to test it out. Yeah, just from that perspective, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think my personal opinionated favorite model is Gemini on like both sides of the
Okay,
spectrum.
yeah,
1.5 because it is the cheapest that I have seen, which is very useful if you're doing a lot of like batch loads, which we're very familiar with.
yeah,
And then on the other side, 2.5 Pro, I use that as my coding assistant, and that by far has been the
really.
best for me. Yeah, oh yeah, dude. It confirms things for me. It's creating files and folders. It's like it's not really making any mistakes in terms of like where it's putting information. Some of the stuff that it does, like, yeah, I gotta go in and like update it. But I would say like today, between I would say about like 65% of my code is AI generated.
And if right off the hop, it's pretty good. Like, or of that
Right
sixty
off the
five
hop.
percent, you still have to edit it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So like it'll go and do its thing, and I'm maybe editing like a third of it.
Cool. That's cool. Well, we could try it too, didn't? Because Google also released um, yeah, like the ability to like work with MCPs as well last
They did.
week or a
Yeah,
week and a half ago, whenever it was. But yeah, so I guess technically we could test it out there too, right?
absolutely.
That'd be cool. That'd be
That
cool.
would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I would
Nice.
also kind of love to see, in terms of like Google, Anthropic, and OpenAI, which one is kind of like the best when it's putting in information into these MCP servers. So
Hmm.
like it has the ability to hook into it, but now that it knows context about the tools that it can use, which one? So like for instance, if I'm asking it to send an email and it knows that it has tools to like list emails, read an email, send an email, whatever, draft an email, which one makes the smallest mistake or no mistake? Like which one is the best at discovering which tool to use?
Hmm.
Because we've seen that like sometimes it kind of makes a mistake, or it's like, read me my most recent email and maybe it'll just like list three of them for whatever reason. Or like if I
Yeah.
ask what's my biggest expense in QuickBooks, it's going to list all your expenses in March. Like if I ask what's my biggest expense in March in QuickBooks, it'll list all
Yeah.
your expenses for whatever reason and then just make you decide. Like that's what I've seen.
Right.
So I'm curious to see which one does the best.
Hmm. We should do some internal testing on this. That'd be cool.
Mhm. Yeah, we can do some batch testing for sure.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is a good one. I feel
Yeah.
like, you're always on top of things, especially when it comes to like the news. And I'm really, really excited that you found this Volcra thing. Like I'm gonna nerd out on this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We should like both test it out and maybe in the next podcast we can talk about it a
talk
bit
about it.
more and then talk about like a little bit more of like your idea and how it maybe could be expanded or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, guys.
Cool.
This is great. Thank you so much for listening. We are on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And yeah, if you guys go on there, if you guys been giving us a listen, 5-star review, rating, all that fun stuff. I don't know what it does. I think it helps. Trying to grow this channel, or this podcast. So send us an email, comment, let us know what you've been thinking about the quality of this stuff, and you want us to talk about anything specific. We would love to help. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Super SaaS Pros with Corey and Jade. We'll see you next time.